in addition to rabbit feeding, uh, I think there is a very promising field relating to the development of, development and marketing of premium cuts of meat. So I will look to the opportunities for the rabbit farming as a whole, totally.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Feed Science Podcast brought to you by WiseNetics. I'm Carlos Campabadal, dedicated to bringing you the latest insights and discussions in the feed science or feed industry. Please get ready to expand your knowledge and stay ahead with today's episode. So today it is a great pleasure to me to talk to Professor Dr. Leandro Castilha. He teaches animal science at the State University of Maringa in Brazil. He's also president of the Brazilian Scientific Rabbit Science and Association. And for me, it is a pleasure having you here. It is my first time talking about animal production and animal nutrition on rabbits. I grew up with swine and dairy and beef cattle, but this is a great opportunity for me to learn and hope the audience the same. So, Professor Leandro, welcome to the Feed Science Podcast. It's a pleasure having you here. And if you please share us a little bit about yourself, so the audience can learn a little bit about you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Carlos. My greetings to everyone who listens. Initially, I would like to thank you for the invitation and express our joy in sharing with North America. I think what we have done in Brazil for the development of rabbit farming, we're very happy and honored for this opportunity. I'm an animal scientist. I have undergrad and the grad courses, the master degree and Ph.D, all with swine too. And then more or less 10 years ago, 9 to 10 years ago, I received the purpose, the chance to work with rabbits, and then I had to learn much more about animal nutrition because this animal is fantastic, and I've been learning every day. And when you see you are as a president of the Brazilian Association, in my case, it's a branch of the World Rabbit Science, and we will talk something about nutrition of rabbits today.
Great. No, this is something I think for me and a lot of the people in the audience, a very interesting topic and something new. And of course, here in WiseNetics and this Feed Science podcast, we love to hear about it. So to get a little bit of understanding, can you just share a little bit of what got you into animal science and how you ended up? Like you said that 10 years ago, but what was the reason that you ended up doing going from swine to rabbits?
Yeah, it's very simple because we had a very good professor here, Professor Claudius Capinello, who retired when I was
Okay.
contracted to work with animal nutrition in Maringá state in southern Brazil. And he just came to me and said, if you don't work with rabbits, we will have to finish the activity, these species. So it was more than an invitation. It was just like you have to do that. So, and for me, it was at the first time I was scared about, but when you get to study and learn, that's like we fall in love because there's much more to learn. uh, in a half, the rabbit looks like maybe we can compare with horses because it's not ruminant and it's not all monogastric. I mean
Madagascar.
non-ruminant, something in the middle. So
Yeah.
I liked much.
And I was going to ask you about that actually because I was very curious if it was monogastric or ruminant, and now we know it's an in between. So that's very interesting. And like you mentioned, you had to do it, and I'm very glad you did. And just so we could understand the audience, can you tell us a little bit what is the current scenario of rabbit farming in Brazil? I mean, who are the farmers? Where is it located? What are people doing? Because at least it is something that is not that common to read on the normal outlets that we look information for.
Yeah, very good. That's the main point to talk here, and then in a second moment about the rabbit nutrition, because in Brazil we didn't begin rabbit farming for meat. I'll talk you like storytelling in the few minutes. Uh, we have to explain what is the rabbit farming in Brazil and in South America. So probably we have produced rabbits for 2 or 3 thousand years before Christ in China, but in Brazil we have something like 50 or 60 years of production. And in the 50s probably the first breeds were brought from Europe, from the Fiocruz Institute of Animal and Human Health, and also Butantan Institute to produce vaccines. We had a very interesting story to talk about the dairy cattle, because we had a very big how can I say an improvement of dairy cattle and beef cattle in Brazil in
Hmm.
the 60s and 50s and 60s. So we had a problem of, we say here, aftosa fever. For you, I think it's foot and mouth disease, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm familiar. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
so to produce this vaccine, the main tissue, I mean, the biological tissue was what we say here, laparo. That's the rabbit kit. So at
ah,
these
wow,
years, the rabbit kit was the best tissue to develop these vaccines. So to better understand how we can situate Brazilian rabbit farming, we need to talk about the Brazilian cattle farming during this period. Uh, Probably in the 60s or 70s, we had, the own industry of vaccine it developed too, and they began to use eggs. I mean, chicken eggs
chicken
to
eggs.
produce this
Okay,
vaccine. So we had around 5,000 producers only in Rio de Janeiro state in the
wow,
70s. And suddenly, the Fiocruz Institute and Butantan Institute, they stopped using the rabbit kits to produce vaccines. They began producing it in eggs. And then these people, these farmers, had to make something with that herd, that farms they had with many does and reproducers and kids. So we had a crisis, and in this scenario, in this moment, we had to change to took place to the possibility of rabbit for meat, for protein.
for meat.
So you can
Mm,
see how the rabbit meat production began in Brazil. It was not a plan. It was not something thought to be like it is. It was like something very suddenly for us.
wow, no, that's a very interesting story. Never would have thought. I really thought that it was just for meat, and I had rabbit meat in the past, especially in paellas and other dishes throughout my life, but never thought about vaccines. But it does make many things, it makes sense. And for our audience, please, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments. And if you like our podcast, please like us on it. So this is very interesting, Professor Leandro, and as I understand, then of course that evolutionized for rabbit meat. So based on that, I'm coming myself from the feed manufacturing background. Can you tell us a little bit how's that feeding scenario that happens in Brazil for the rabbits?
Okay, so there are too much companies or companies, enterprises. I mean, labels to produce rabbit feed in Brazil. I think uh, more than 50. I say too much because we 10 years ago we had something about 20, 25. So we have double of that.
Double. Hmm.
But the total amount of feed produced annually is not exactly known. According to the information obtained this morning, I was looking for this data, these numbers from the National Union of Animal Feed Industry. We say in Brazil, Rações. The amount produced is around a half million tons in 2023, the last year, but it represents only around 0.1% of total feed produced in Brazil in the same year.
Well,
The largest volume of feed is, of course, for poultry, pigs, dairy, and beef cattle. And regarding a reference of nutrition requirements and composition of food, of feeds, ingredients, and whatever, we have a very good manual. We look,
okay.
it's like a reference
Yeah.
guides. The author is Professor Luis Carlos Machado. He is a very friend of mine, and for us in Brazil is a reference in rabbit breeding and rabbit nutrition. And he published this formulation manual for meat and companion rabbits in 2011. But now we are in the third edition. It was released in 2019, and this manual is free available on the
Oh,
website of
really?
our Brazilian Rabbit Science Association, which is a branch of the World Rabbit Science Association. But in any case, this Brazilian manual is based on the NRC, the Nutrient Requirements for Rabbits of Europe, such as in other books and manuals of Europe, except for the foods. I mean, the nutritional composition, the nutritional value of, for example, maize or corn, soybean meal, alfalfa, hay, and others. We use values of works developed in Brazil and in Latin America. Uh, I must draw some attention to the fact that many agricultural stores, I think you say in US, the farming houses where you can buy the feeds. But in Brazil, there are many places in which these companies, these stores, they sell the feeds without labeling. Uh,
Ah,
it
okay.
it's forbidden, it's prohibited in Brazil, but
Okay.
it happens. It's a serious problem because when you go purchase this feed, you don't know if it was indeed a feed for rabbits. It can be for horses, for ruminants, and we must remember that cattle feed may contain urea,
Yes, that's
which is
right.
toxic for rabbits, and
Yeah.
consumers should always demand the presentation of feed labels during purchase. Other information I think it's very interesting. Uh, Many manufacturers in Brazil do not consider, how can I say, the real nutritional needs. So, as the crude protein, for example, the crude protein level you must meet as a nutritional requirement is a number. If you meet this number, everything is okay. But we don't. We know it's not so easy like that. You must use ingredients of good quality. Huh? With urea, you can reach this number too, but urea is toxic, for example. Huh? Furthermore, a criticism must be made of our national legislation, our rules in relation to the labels. I mean, the quality of the ingredients and nutrients is not a required issue for the labels.
Okay.
The companies they can produce any feed, and then they don't need to put exactly what was or what were the ingredients used. You have only to
Okay.
put the main ingredients and the substitutes, the replacers. that you can use
Ah, okay.
any replacer. You don't need to put exactly what was the replacer to the main ingredients you use it. Huh?
Okay.
And we have many other things to talk about. For example, I think it's the main point of our podcast today. I'll talk something more. Uh, Regarding the ingredients, the most common in Brazil, in the basic composition, how I said, for our rules, maize, I mean, ground corn,
Corn.
soybean
Yeah.
meal, yeah, wheat bran, alfalfa hay. We use many corn, gluten,
Yeah.
rice
Okay.
husk, rice bran, limestone, dicalcium phosphate, sodium chloride,
Yeah.
UNIOESTE, and whatever. Just like for very similar to poultry and pig, but
Yes.
the other or the others commonly mention it as possible substitutes or replacers. We have sunflower bran, ground sorghum, deflated corn germ, cassava shavings.
Cassava. That's what I was gonna suggest. Cassava. Yeah.
Yeah, we have much cassava in tropical country, and broken rice, deflated rice bran, and
Palm meal too, probably. Palm
yeah,
oil meal. Yeah.
we have many agro-industrial
Yes.
byproducts and the additives like yucca extract, essential oils, and organic acids, probiotics, and whatever.
Which I'm assuming as being a nutritionist, it could is good to have options, but it could also be a challenge. Of course, when you're trying to balance a diet from that perspective. I'll take the moment here to for audience if you learned something today, please share the video. We appreciate you guys sharing with the rest of colleagues and talking about our feed science podcast of Wisnetics. So, Professor Leandro, uh, for me, this is all very very new, like I mentioned, and just a curiosity. You were talking about some of those limitations that are currently going on with the rabbit farming in Brazil, but what are the main opportunities? I mean, do you see the industry growing? Uh, Beside the market and meat, I'm assuming there's something maybe on pet, or maybe I'm a little bit too off on that. But it's something. What would be your opinion on that?
Yeah, we have many limitations as you stated here, and said some of them, but we have much more opportunities. So in the field of nutrition, I believe that's my point of view. The use of agribusiness byproducts, for example, in our state, Paraná, in southern Brazil, we have many companies that produce juices of fruits. So grape, orange, passion fruit, whatever, banana peels, and coconut fiber. We have many brewery residue from industries of beer. Uh, Now, from the last 5 years, maybe many enterprise or companies producing DDGS, dried distillers grains with solubles. Like you have much more time producing this in US,
Yeah.
among others. So, for example, in the university where I work, State University of Maringá, we are always evaluating these alternative foods, these agro-industrial or agribusiness byproducts. For each 3 or 4 theses or dissertations, works of grad or undergrad, we evaluate at least one or two. We choose to evaluate these wastes, nah? Because it's very interesting, and we have to make the circular economy.
Of
It's
course. Yeah.
very
Very important for sustainability reasons. Yes. Oh yeah. I agree with
yes,
that.
it meets the sustainability goals of the United Unions, United
European Union. Yeah.
yeah. So the use of insect protein is growing up in Brazil. We have a tropical climate, so we have some farms of black soldier fly. For example, in our capital, Curitiba, the capital of Paraná State, we have two farms that produces only protein of black soldier fly. What others opportunities I can mention? The replacers or substitutes for the antibiotics, especially the AGPs, the antibiotics growth promoters. They are practically forbidden in Brazil and other countries. So we are always evaluating organic acids, essential oils, probiotics, prebiotics, and whatever. But in addition to rabbit feeding, uh, I think there is a very promising field relating to the development of, I mean, development and marketing of premium cuts of meat. So I will look to the opportunities for the rabbit farming as a whole, totally. We can develop sausage, hamburger, nuggets, meatballs, smoked meats, and many other recipes. For example, you can prepare meat of rabbits in the air fryer. It's very versatile. And finally, in our vision, we could improve. In Brazil, we are still beginning the rabbit as a companion species. I know in the US you have many breeds.
Hmm.
For example, the American Rabbit Breeding Association, we say ARBA, does an excellent job of standardizing and disseminating the breed characteristics. But in Brazil, we don't have this very clear. What is a giant, a mini, and a dwarf breed? We could do this as you do in the US.
That's very interesting, and I'm just thinking while you were talking. When I was 40 years ago, I did had a lot of rabbits as pets, and it was always a lot of fun, and I know that's always growing, especially, and we know this by dogs and cats and other animals that population, the society is having more pets than kids, and is switching that, and of course, there's always opportunities for the rabbit market on that perspective to grow. So for our viewers and our audience, please subscribe to our channel. Click on the bell to receive our notifications on Fit Science Podcast and Wisenetics. Um, Professor Leandro, this has been very interesting. Um, Based on everything that you said on limitations and opportunities, uh, can you tell us a little bit some going on your work and your colleagues? The first thing that I'm curious is, where is the majority of the rabbit production in Brazil? And then also, if you could share a little bit more the recent advances that you guys have been looking into to continue working on rabbit farming.
Very good. So we have, as I said in the beginning of the podcast, probably the rabbit farming began in São Paulo state, São Paulo in Rio de
Hmm.
Janeiro, but with the problem of replacing the kits for the eggs of chicken to produce the vaccine, uh, we had a migration to the southern of Brazil, to the south region. And now the south region is the biggest producer. So Paraná State, Santa Catarina, and Rio Grande do Sul, the three states of the south of Brazil, they probably produce more than 60 or 70% of
Okay.
rabbit meat of all the country. And as an advance, we can say that in this year, in February, the end of February and the beginning of March, we just had the inauguration of a slaughterhouse, a new slaughterhouse in Santa Catarina State.
Okay.
They expect to slaughter around 1,000 rabbits a month. The expectation is that this slaughterhouse will serve the entire state and send rabbit meat to the rest of the country.
Oh wow.
And by our association, the Brazilian Scientific Association, we are carrying out ministerial procedures to import a vaccine against myxomatosis.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in Brazil, we don't have a vaccine, and we cannot import it. We don't have the registration granted, which make us completely vulnerable to this viral disease. And we are in touch with some companies of Europe and Russia trying to import this vaccine. Also, we are carrying out research with three universities to specifically to try to reduce the nest mortality. So
Okay.
the biggest problem of rabbit farming is until the weaning phase. So when the rabbit is still having the mother's milk,
Hmm.
he's suckling. So the mortality is very high. And for example, now I have a student advising a thesis of a PhD work. He is trying to develop a milk replacer for rabbit kids. But we have many others line of research like sizing the nests, the feeders, the drinkers, the jails or cages, the environment enrichment, these milk replacers, supplementary heating or warming for nests. We are a tropical country, but now we are in the winter. It's
Yes, that's right.
quite cold here.
And in the night too, it probably gets cold even in some parts of the year too. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
even in the warm weather season, yes.
yeah. It's very common, and we are not looking for only for production rates. Of course, it's the rabbit farmer wants to earn money, but we have to look for the animal welfare. We have to promote fully the animal welfare in rabbit farming, and finally, we are trying to have. I mean, we're in a project of developing a startup. It's in the initial phase with support of the productive sector with two enterprises of the of our city. It's focused on the production of a mobile slaughterhouse for rabbits. So it will be how can I summarize? It will be a container in a truck body. So we have the name of frigo truck because in Brazil we say frigorífico to slaughterhouse. Like food truck, we have the slaughterhouse truck.
I remember now. Yeah, we're trying to remember what you're saying. It. Yes, that's right.
This is very
Yeah,
innovative and disruptive because it transforms. Brazil is very big, just like US, and it
yeah,
transforms the main problem, the street, the highway, in great solution. So, I mean, the distance to transport the rabbits will be the onboard solution.
that's right. No, that's very interesting. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to learn how all this stuff ends up and keeps growing onto it. So yeah, no, this is very interesting, and of course, I mean, it's an area, especially for the audience that we're more common seeing poultry, swine, dairy, and beef, like you said, and of course, pet food for dogs and cats. But this is fantastic. So for our audience, please visit our site wisenetics.com and learn more about all of our podcast segments like poultry, swine, dairy, beef, feed mill like this one, and of course, pet food.
It's time for our famous three. Evonik Animal Nutrition is committed to ensure food security and safety while reducing the ecological footprint of animal farming. Its products and services use evidence-based solutions that seek to promote animal welfare and reduce reliance on natural resources. All this is underpinned by long-standing industry partnerships and deep customer understanding. Evonik's focus on efficiency, sustainable, healthy nutrition, and collaborations with livestock farming partners creates value for customers and consumers.
So with that, Professor Leandro, it's we're pretty much almost wrapping up the time that we had for this Feed Science podcast by Wisenetics, and I've learned a lot. I'm pretty sure that the audience too. But when we end our podcast, we always like to pretty much ask a couple questions to you and anybody that comes that when we're interviewing them. But very simple. For your work, if somebody wants to learn more about rabbit production, farming, nutrition, what is your favorite book or resource that you will recommend? Like somebody like me that is not an expert and want to learn a bit more. What book or website or a combination that you will recommend?
Okay, with any doubt, we always recommend the site of the World Rabbit Science Association.
Okay.
The World Rabbit Science Association is the biggest, how can I say, the big site or hub of information and knowledge about this species. We always go there to take information where we need.
Oh, good. Oh, that's very good. And besides agriculture and rabbit, do you have any favorite book on leadership, entertainment, anything that you recommend the audience of?
Yes, as my field of research and working is nutrition, so we are always reading this information. So the book, the name is Nutrition of the Rabbit. The
Oh,
authors, Dr. Enrique de Blas and Carlos Wiseman.
okay.
I've just known Enrique de Blas. He's Spanish. In April of this year, I was for a symposium of Spain, and I was introduced to him. So he's a very clever, smart researcher. He's probably this year is gonna be retired, but he's working nowadays. The best book of Rab Nutrition. The name is the Rab Nutrition.
Well, it's simple and easy for the audience to remember.
Yeah, and it's free for download in the site of the World Rabbit Science Association.
Ah, okay. That's very good information, and thanks very much for sharing that. And just to wrap up, for our young audience, we always like to hear from successful professionals like you. Uh, what will be your opinion on what sets successful nutritionists, professionals, or anybody in the rabbit industry or any other from your animal science world apart from those that are not successful? What would you recommend somebody that is growing up in that industry and trying to be successful?
I think the main weapon we can take today is the information. But I mean the right information. Maybe in the internet you have many things and information you cannot trust, but the right information, the correct one, it's gonna give you a straight line. The straight line is the faster way to match 2 points. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't make like that, up and down, up and down. And the right information is free for the rabbit science. We have many good information in English, in Spanish, and other languages, but I think that the major part in English. And these sites like World Rabbit Science, Brazilian Rabbit Science Association, the American Rabbit Breeder Associations for you,
Oh, okay.
ARBA. You have many places and sites to look for the correct information. So there's not only one place to find everything you need, but you can do like a drive and scientific reports, papers, and study a lot. So places like these and these opportunities of
Yeah,
turn the information in a dialogue, a conversation,
exactly.
a very rich opportunity.
Great. No, perfect. Thank you very much. And with that, in behalf of the Feed Science Podcast, I really appreciate you coming to join us today. And we have learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure the audience too. So with that, that concludes another episode of the Feed Science Podcast presented by WiseNetics. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. Your feedback is very valuable to us. Until next time, this is Carlos Campabadal from Kansas State University from the Feed Science Podcast signing off. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Carlos.